MLS Aces Podcast. This is your host, Tom Sweezy, back for another episode. And as I'm trying to promise the listeners and the viewers, we are trying to get 2 episodes out a week. And with that, a guest conversation and a very special guest conversation number 2 for the year, Valair. So this is some high expectations that I'm setting for you right now. But Valair Shabilla, covering Nashville and Major League Soccer for 615 Soccer, Pharmaceutical Soccer, and Kickback Soccer Media. You are everywhere, man. How are you doing today?
I'm good. High honors. Second one. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can live up to it, but I'll do my best.
I mean, look, we're only 2 weeks into the MLS season, but still, but you're setting the precedent for everyone else. But I appreciate you coming on. And one of the first things I kind of want to dive into, we can talk about Nashville and we can talk about the whole MLS scene in a second, is your personal journey in, I guess, covering the sport here in America and covering specifically Nashville. I've heard it a little bit, right, on Kickback. I feel like it was on Kickback or it was on Soccer Wise. Apologies, and obviously following you through social media and whatnot. But for those who don't know it, I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you've gotten to, again, all these places of covering U.S. soccer.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. So I came to the US as a refugee back in 2009. So I was about 14 years old when we came to the US, me and my family. And obviously, coming in from Iraq, that was, well, we came in. I'm from Iraq. We lived in Lebanon for a couple of years and then made it to the US after that. Yeah, obviously Iraq wasn't going through the best of patches back then, so had to get out and we found home in the US, specifically in Nashville, Tennessee. And yeah, just been here in Nashville ever since. It's been 18 years now that I've lived in Nashville, which is crazy. I went to high school here, college here, all sorts of stuff. Obviously, soccer is huge in Iraq. Like, in the entire Middle East, really, but specifically in Iraq. I mean, it's when I say it's the biggest sport, it doesn't even do it justice. I mean, it's like a way of life. It's
Yeah.
In 2007, I was there when Iraq won the Asian Cup, which is like our equivalent of the Euros, let's say, or Gold Cup. It does happen every 4 years, so it's more exciting than the Gold Cup. But Iraq won that as massive underdogs. There was civil war in the country. There was a lot of stuff going on. I was in Iraq at the time, and when we won that, it was the sort of calmest and safest the country had been in, I don't know, years. And you like the civil war kind of stopped for a few days at least, and all the violence and killing kind of stopped for a little bit, and everybody was celebrating from different ethnicities and different religions and all sorts of stuff. And I just hadn't seen my country like that before, and so it left a huge mark on me, which is what it didn't start my love for soccer, but it definitely kept it going. And as I moved through the countries and moved through learning English and learning how to communicate with people and all sorts of stuff, it was soccer that really was the number one thing that got me connected with any community, really anywhere in the world until today. That's kind of how we talk about it. And when Nashville got a USL team, we started the podcast called Pharmaceutical Soccer. Dumb name. I got outvoted on it, so not my fault. Like the other two hosts. And yeah, just started doing that. And then about 2-3 years ago, I started working with Ben Wright. I know a lot of folks know Ben. In sort of more of a journalist, reporter, official press box type of setting, and doing a lot of Nashville stuff. And then for the past year or so, I've also been kind of going into more MLS stuff, and then did some World Cup stuff with Kickback, like you mentioned. So it's been a really cool journey, and I've really enjoyed it. It's one of the most fun things I've ever been involved in. I hope I keep doing it, and I'm just happy to be doing it with folks like you, yourself, and others who are passionate about the sport and what it does.
It's funny to me. Like, I was with a childhood friend of mine in New York City yesterday. We were, at the Soccer Factory. I think actually David Goss and then they did the World Cup, the drawing show at that Soccer Factory in New York City. Great place, whatever. But there's like people of all kinds of backgrounds that just like show up here, and it was Chelsea, Arsenal, and you have just people chanting, and you have people talking and laughs. And I looked at my friend and I was like, honestly, this is maybe what I enjoy more about soccer than sometimes the X's and O's on the field and what goal you're getting. Like, even there's just such a, I don't know, a unification of things off the field that I think the game brings, and a multiculturalism and all this stuff that the game brings that's like so special and ingrained in culture. So I love that you can be a refugee to the US and live in Nashville SC and have your memories from your, from your home and of not a previous life, but of a previous time in your life. And now you're covering it here in the United States in Nashville, and it's like just this whole special connection for you in your life. Like it's the stuff like that that I love about the game.
Yeah, and nothing else can compare to it. Like there's just
No.
nothing like that in my life, and there won't be anything. And when I moved to the US, I was learning Spanish and English at the same rate at one point because of how many people I played soccer with. They all were Spanish speakers, and they didn't speak Arabic. Obviously, I didn't speak Spanish, but we communicated by playing soccer. We fought, we laughed, we did all sorts of things, just on the soccer pitch, which was a tennis court in this apartment complex we were put in, and we took the net out and just started playing 5v5, and the goal was just the cage that was in there. And that was my introduction to America. That was America to me, and it's different now at Geodis Park. And I do have to mention this too, like Nashville SC, when I go to those games, obviously now I'm in the press box, but even if you just walk around the stadium, and I've seen it at like any MLS stadium I've been to, which I've been to quite a few of them, it is the most diverse, not just in race and ethnicity, but literally the most diverse and the best representation of the city is going to a Nashville SC game here in Nashville versus like a Titans game or a Preds game, which, I like those teams, those other sports as well. And I'm not sort of, but it's just in itself, soccer is more inclusive to people who are, again, of different backgrounds and sort of cultures. And I just think that's really beautiful. When I look at the supporter section and I see people of different backgrounds and different colors, different whatever, right? And seeing all of them celebrate a Nashville goal, or in any stadium, Columbus, Cincinnati, whatever, Atlanta, like seeing that it's just something that's just, it sticks with you. It's really nice.
I fully agree. And to transition into the soccer of it all, I want to get your take, because last week I talked to Elias Grigoriadis from the Balls Around Montreal podcast, and we talked a little bit about soccer culture in Quebec and Montreal specifically. Obviously, I think Nashville and maybe the larger state of Tennessee, right, is still a growing soccer culture, but you do see, like you said, something really special when I think it comes to a game day experience with Nashville SC, Geodis Park, all of it. What is the soccer culture right now from your perspective for the city of Nashville, and then I guess anything larger with the state of Tennessee?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's grown tremendously, and Geodis Park, just building Geodis Park, putting it where they put it, and just having people be there, it played a huge part. Obviously, Nashville SC being in MLS is a huge thing, but if we're talking about, to start with, what Nashville was at its core was a supporters founded club. Nashville FC was called back then. We're talking about 11, 12 years ago, maybe now. I wasn't part of that. I don't want to take any credit. There were some great folks who are still Nashville SC fans and still in the supporters culture, doing podcasts or whatever they're doing, who kind of started all the way back then. And they founded Nashville FC, got it off the ground. They played in semi-pro and amateur leagues and whatnot. And eventually they got it to where there would be like 1,000 people, showing up to see that team. And that's just like unheard of, for that small of a team. And then USL came about, right? And when USL came, they bought the rights to Nashville FC, changed it to Nashville SC, but the colors stayed the same. Some of the folks who worked stayed the same, and ended up coming into to USL, which was a professional league. But again, this is USL in 2018 and 19. Those were the 2 seasons Nashville spent in USL. So it wasn't what it is right now, but still it was a pretty professional environment. And Nashville got to play in a baseball stadium, which I know you're familiar with based on your picture. They played in the minor league. They played in the minor league baseball stadium here, and it was, I think the stadium holds like 10,000 people, and on a good day you'll see like 7,000, 6,000 people there. For a USL game. It was constantly one of the best USL attendance. But aside from the attendance, that's when the sort of environment started to build. Because what happened before Nashville even kicked a USL had a USL kickoff, Nashville was announced to have an MLS team coming.
Yeah.
So it was kind of predetermined, and it did create a little bit of a buzz around the team, around the city. So you'll see a lot of people coming in, and that's when a lot of stuff was established. The supporters section, chants, stuff like that. A lot of it was established, and a lot of it was carried over from the Nashville FC days. So when then Nashville came to MLS, it Nashville's first game in MLS in 2020 before the COVID pandemic, it had 60,000 people in there at Nissan Stadium, which is the Titans where they play. And when we're talking about 6,000, 7,000, 10,000 sellout to 60,000, it's a completely different world, right? But a lot of the folks who came up, even players who came up from USL, stayed with Nashville. You had folks in the staff staying with Nashville SC. And then obviously you had the supporters stay. And what that created was just more people coming in, more ideas coming in. And there was a lot of clash in that culture. But honestly, since then, it has grown into a real soccer city, I think. And I think you can see it even from the fans, the casuals, right, around the stadium, not the supporters. Obviously, they know what's going on. But when you look at the casuals, like even now, when you see like somebody like if a team is pressing Nashville and they play out a couple passes and get the ball away from their goal, you'll see a couple claps. If there's a good switch of the ball, you see claps. That didn't used to happen. People would just kind of, like he hit it really hard. Like, let's So there's a lot of that happening as well. And then obviously there's like people who obviously know the game. Like I don't want to disrespect anybody. So it's growing, and Geodis Park being the biggest soccer specific stadium in the US, it's a big deal. And I think Nashville not having like an NBA team or a MLB team helps with that as well. And what really helps is that the Titans and the Preds are pretty terrible. So if you have a winning team that won a trophy last year,
that's fair.
It's a pretty easy sell, right?
That's 100% fair. I my co-host Jason all the time. I think Nashville is one of those teams that came to Major League Soccer and was maybe not getting the appreciation that what the team came up from USL to Major League Soccer really kind of built the base for success, because Nashville is relatively successful from the jump, right? In their adoption through COVID, through the craziness of what 2020, 2021 really was. So yeah, I love what Nashville has done. I love, again, like you mentioned, a lot of staff, a lot of players kind of making that jump, and I think really building for what the current situation of Hani and Sam Surridge and everything with BJ Callaghan is going on, and to transition right into 2026 Nashville SC. It's been a busy start of a season. 4 games so far, 2 in Champions Cup, 2 in Major League Soccer, 3 wins in those. Obviously, week 2, not the best game, I would say, from Nashville out of those 4. But right now, I want to talk about Champions Cup first. 2 dominant wins, or 1.5 dominant wins over Atletico Ottawa. And it's a lot of, I think, these guys who maybe the casual MLS fan, or look, I like to think I'm an MLS nerd. I could probably tell you the third striker on some random team, but a lot of guys like a Wubens Pacius, right, who was on loan last year, and again, a random MLS fan may not know, is getting minutes and looking like a really good soccer player, right? Whether it is against Atletico Ottawa or even a few minutes he's gotten in Major League Soccer so far. But what do you think BJ Callaghan kind of brings to this team to be able to trust a younger side, trust a quote unquote B team to go out midweek against, a lesser than MLS opponent, get the shutout wins there, transition to Major League Soccer on the weekends? Obviously week 1 was great, and then week 2 on the road. But what do you think the new culture is right now with Nashville, and why we see the explosion for them?
Yeah, there's a true sort of tried method that BJ Callaghan is working with. And when he says something to the players or to the public, he means it. And I know that's like bare minimum, right? But a lot of coaches will say, it's a clean slate, whatever. I came in. Yeah. If you show me that you earn a start, you'll get a start. BJ Callaghan actually does that, and I think that's very important. But I think what's more important is that he's able to create this environment where players want to play for him and they want to play for the team. Yeah. So when he plays a player for the CONCACAF Champions Cup game. They are excited to be out there regardless of whether or not it's an MLS game or who the opponent is. And I think a lot of that has to do also with just the way his messaging works and his communication. And I've asked no less than 4 or 5 players about BJ Callaghan, and the first thing they mention is he's very clear in his communication. Even when you look at somebody like Wileji, who came in, his name is spelled with a Z, but you pronounce it with a J.
Okay.
Look, I don't know.
You know what? Thank you for that. I'll be perfectly honest. Thank you for that. I will remember that.
So maybe they do that in Ghana. I have no idea, man. So he's a Ghanaian center back that Nashville just got this season from the Norwegian League, another Norwegian League player. But when you look at it, his first thing he said is that BJ is very clear with me when it's like serious, when he's joking, when he's talking about on the pitch stuff, off the pitch stuff. And I think that clear message really, really helps. And I think with the way I described BJ when his first press conference, the first time we sat down with him, talked to him, the first thing I said about him, and not in a negative way, but I was like, he's a very much an American coach. Like, he's the most American coach you'll see and hear in your life, which is a huge, huge difference than Gary Smith, who was a very British coach, like very English guy. Very much like, his the way he talks, his mannerism, the sort of older style of coaching, to BJ being, let's it's a more collaborative environment and everything. He's open to his players, and so I think he brought that a lot. But honestly, the sort of biggest thing he brought is that results. And when players see results, when players see a team lifting a trophy, they believe in the coach more, right? Because, his method is working and his tactics are working, or the entire coaching staff is not even this BJ, right? So I think that's mostly what he brought. And when he's able to go into his second, third, fourth striker and still get a result, regardless of the competition, I think that's a big thing. And really what comes down to is that the front office gave him the tools to do that, gave him the players to do that. Because if this was last season, it was just Teal Bunbury on the bench as far as the 2 striker positions. And he tried to put him on. Teal Bunbury did not score a single goal the entire season. And that's not like a indictment on Teal, but it's just he had no other choice other than Teal.
Exactly.
So it's like, what is he going to do other than that? So now that there is the depth that he needs from the front office, he's using that depth, at least in this first 4 games. And that depth is providing results for Nashville. So it's a win-win situation there.
He is very and I hope this isn't a disrespectful comparison, but he's very Ted Lasso to me. Like, he's gonna be open communication, but he's Ted Lasso that comes in knowing soccer, right? Like, he's open communication, great motivator. He will get the best out of, again, Rubens Pacius all the way to Jack Mayer to Sam Surridge up top, right? He's going to get the most out of every single player on his roster. And that's something I love. And to your point, it is very American, I feel like. Just run through a brick wall for the coach. That's just what it is. How are your thoughts right now in saying, okay, Champions Cup's going well, but now we have Inter Miami, who is nice. I think a nice little rivalry it has been blossomed between you two.
So you spoke about 2020. So Nashville comes into the league with Inter Miami. They have the big stars, right? Miami got Higuain. They got Matuidi. Beckham is the owner. It's a whole thing. And Nashville's like, hey, we're coming into the league too. Like, hey, can anybody pay attention? There's we and it's like, and no one gave a crap. Everybody was like, Miami's coming to the league. And they'll do a 1-minute segment on Nashville at most. And then what ends up happening is that first season plays out. First of all, Miami ends up cheating and they get all sorts of trouble. But I'm not even getting into that. No, this is not allegations.
Yes.
MLS went.
It was the whole Blaise Matuidi situation.
Yes. So I'm not even gonna get into that part. But on the pitch, Nashville ends up just wiping the floor with Miami in the playoffs, even and even in the regular season. But in the playoffs, they win 3-1 and advance all the way to the conference semifinal in the first year. And everybody's like, well, what happened to the Higuain? Higuain was busy smoking cigarettes or whatever he was saying at the time. Real quote, again, not making any of this up. This is for people who are new into MLS. Look into the 2020 season. I mean, it's MLS is back. You got like Higuain. It's
Literally smoking cigarettes. Yes,
it's so good. It's so
this
good.
is I laugh though because like, and it's again, maybe it's the stuff off the field. It's just like I love this league. I love American soccer to an extent because like this is just like the shit you can't make up at a certain point. But I apologize. Continue.
No, you're good. Yeah, and like Portland won MLS's back tournament.
Yeah.
But Dallas and Nashville got kicked out of the tournament because they had a COVID breakthrough. So everybody else got to play MLS's back except Dallas and Nashville. So when the regular season resumed, Dallas and Nashville just played each other to make up the games. Anyway, this is just I'll stop about 2020. It was a dark time, man, and that was Nashville's first season. So, but the point is the rivalry in quotes, whatever. But it started kind of from the jump because the two teams came together. There was a lot of sort of animosity between the fan bases. They played in the playoffs in the first year, or at least a play-in game. They played in the U.S. Open Cup. They played in Leagues Cup final after that. They had plenty of regular season games, obviously. And then the CONCACAF Champions Cup the year after the Leagues Cup final with Messi. So there's just been a lot of history. And I said this on Soccer Wise last week as well. Nashville's the opponent they've played the most is Miami for Nashville. So with these two games coming up in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, it'll be 21 times since 2020 that Nashville SC has played Inter Miami, which is incredible in its own. And obviously with Messi coming in and, kind of balling out really every time he comes to Nashville, except the one playoff game last season. And he still scored. And he still scored.
It's a bad game when Messi only has one goal contribution.
Right. Yeah. And like all of the other games, he's like, if you look it up, it's like crazy. Like how they put like a little boot and like little
and a soccer ball.
Little soccer ball. This is like multiple of each anytime he plays Nashville. It's actually kind of wild to see. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of built up. And you're right. I don't think many MLS fans outside of Miami like Miami anyway, but I think there's been an additional layer to it because not only have these two teams played games, they've played games of consequences against each other.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of adds a whole layer to the rivalry thing. And I think it's good for the league. And for Nashville, it's a little unfortunate because I'm getting kind of bored and it was such a novelty to see Messi and like the place I grew up in, you know what I mean? But like now it's just like another game. Like I'm just like, it's not even exciting. I swear, like I'm just gonna go and it's just gonna be like, all right, I'm covering Nashville versus Miami for the 12,000th time. Oh, Messi's here. Like this guy won 8 Ballon d'Ors, and I just like walk by. It's fine, like whatever. It makes no sense.
You're probably like, why can't Messi call up one of his friends and like at least give me a new global superstar to like, to watch when they come to Geodis Park?
Yeah, make it more exciting than DePaul and Reguilon. Like, come on. Yeah. Anyway.
No, it's all good. That's look. I say this all the time too. I hate the forced the forced rivalry thing that we see, right? Like, I think the Cascadia stuff is real. I think El Tráfico is real. I'm a New York City fan. I wouldn't even call the Red Bulls the number one rival right now. I think New York City Philly is a real rivalry that plays out on the field because, to your point, games of consequence. And I think it's going to be a really fun. It may be boring, it may be redundant, but I think it is a fun kind of storyline to see, especially after Miami scoring against Orlando and Orlando fans flipping them off. I think Messi might bring that same kind of heat to Nashville fans as well. So I'm excited to see how that plays out for CONCACAF Champions Cup. But I want to quickly dive into the MLS season because I know we're running a little close on time here. But week 1, dominant win. Like, that was, to me in my brain, I'm like, oh, Nashville's like gonna hang with the LAFCs and the Miamis of the world. And it's week 1, everyone overreacts, everyone gets, either super excited about their preseason picks or what the team looked like on the field. Week 2, obviously a little bit more of a comeback to earth without Sam Surge up at the 9. I don't know. I didn't think Sam Surge, he's not not unbelievable, and he didn't, finish in top 3, tie for second in the Golden Boot last year. I didn't think he'd have that much of an effect I guess, so much from like a 4-1 victory to a 0-0 draw. I don't know. What are the thoughts around Sam Surge not being up top, and if Nashville and BJ Callaghan can figure something out there?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. The first thing is that when you look at the team that Nashville were playing against, I think they felt the surge missing more than they would have against any other team, really,
Hmm.
or I guess against any other team. Like Dallas plays with three center backs. They're all giants. And who do you have in the middle is Hani Mukhtar just getting slammed left and right.
Yeah.
Like, not a recipe for success. And Nashville, don't always cross the ball. They're not like a million crosses type of team, but they do cross the ball often. It's a method that they use, especially when they have a guy like Surridge there. And what ended up happening was that because of Dallas plays this physical game, and it's within the laws of the game. So I'm not like
Yeah.
shaming Dallas for it. Like they do a great job. It's a very organized team, very organized defensive unit. There was just nobody kind of bodying those defenders a little bit, something that Surge thrives in. And what ended up happening was kind of creating a vacuum up top to where Nashville could get the ball up to the box, and then there was nothing after that.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Nashville tried out, or BJ Callaghan tried out, this new formation. It's not really new. He keeps trying it out and it keeps not working. I don't know. I think he just really wants to make a 4-3-3 works.
Yeah.
And like he's attempted this multiple times. And even in the Miami playoffs game last season, the first one in the playoffs game when they went down to Miami, and Brian Acosta started as like the deep lying midfielder, then the two players were in front of him. But it just hasn't seemed to work for Nashville SC. And maybe it's a personnel thing, maybe it's a tactical thing, maybe it's a technical thing. I don't know. But it just doesn't seem to be working for Nashville SC, and it didn't work against Dallas either. What ended up happening was that you have the two sort of eights, let's call them, or pivot, and it's Taxeth and Yazbek, right? And instead of them, they cover a lot of grounds and they go all the way to the box and they play the passes and all that, but they're not creators. In their heart of hearts, they are destroyers. They're cover ground, and they are nuisance to the other team.
They're
That's
energy
what they do.
guys, 100%. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that when you have a creative player in front of them, right? Someone who can get the ball to the striker. Well, if the striker is Hani Mukhtar and there's no one to get that ball to him, then it becomes a really difficult game because they are not the ones creating. They are just getting the ball to the creator, right? And that's kind of what ended up happening. And Corcoran, is a deep lying midfielder. He's trying to create from deep, but Dallas have three center backs, and they're not particularly pressing either. So there's not going to be that much space for Corcoran to play the ball into. And then until Dallas started pushing for the win towards the end of the game, and that's when you saw the space happen. And Nashville had their chances, to be fair. Espinoza had two really good chances, and the third one that he ended up passing, and none of those came off for him. And I think that was it for the game for Nashville.
Yeah.
They had their limited chances. They didn't score from them. Dallas had their chances. They didn't score from them. And that's kind of how the game ended.
I mean, look, I say all of that with I still am super high on Nashville. I think, when you get Surge back and healthy and Hani's your now number 2 option, and the best free agent on the market's your number 3 option, and Warren Madrigal in his short Nashville SC career so far has looked like a legit player out wide on the other side. I think Nashville's going to be fine, and I think they'll figure it out come the end of the 2026 season. The last thing I want to talk to you about before I let you go is we're seeing the youth movement around Major League Soccer, right? The Julian Halls, the Adrian Mehmedis kind of taking up the highlights of the first 2 weeks. When I had Ben Wright on the show last year, we talked a little bit about the Nashville Academy and some of the struggles with that and trying to find younger pieces from around Major League Soccer to kind of like help build up the academy a little bit more, kind of like what San Diego's doing. Obviously, different situation there. But Matthew Corcoran, to me, you mentioned him, and he obviously got the red card in the game against Dallas. But Matthew Corcoran, to me, is a legit young talent that I think I think he's the type of guy who you feel like you could see in Major League Soccer for a decade plus. I personally have said it on social media, I've said it on the podcast. I need 2,000 minutes for Matthew Corcoran across all competitions. I just need it. I want it. I don't know how else to put it out there in the universe. But give me, I guess, a little bit of the landscape of kind of just like I don't know if you're seeing any changes with young talents, if you want to focus on Matthew Corcoran, whatever it may be. But obviously, youth development, youth sales, super important in Major League Soccer. So I just want your thoughts on that around Nashville.
Yeah, there was a clear shift, I think, when BJ Callaghan took over, but it's been methodical, really. It hasn't been like, hey, let's just play all the kids, because there's that quality just doesn't exist in the Nashville organization at the moment, and it probably won't exist for another 3-4 years, because that's the nature of youth development. It's a very hard thing to do and to do well. Matthew Corcoran is somebody that FC Dallas actually developed, right, and then he said, you know what, I'm going to try to play grown people soccer, and went to Birmingham and played USL and ended up at Nashville after a season or two in USL. And he's a baller, man. He's a really good player, really clean on the ball, really smart. Which is, I know coming off that red card, it was not a very smart decision. I think he'll tell you that himself, but he's a young player. I think he was frustrated. Yeah. So I think he was just a little frustrated with how the game went, and I have no evidence of this. I honestly just think he forgot he had a yellow card. I think I don't think he was like, oh, I'm on a yellow, I'm gonna go in on this guy. Like, I just don't think any professional player would do that. I think he just kind of forgot he was on a yellow, and unfortunately, he ended up being sent off. But I think I don't know about 2,000 minutes, but I think he might be close to that. Honestly, by the end of the season, BJ Callaghan clearly loves him. His teammates love him. They've been praising him. BJ Callaghan praises him, and then the fans love him. And even if you look at the most tactical person, his ability to pass from deep is not something any other Nashville SC player has. So the only sort of roadblock I see is that he has to dispossess. I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for. English is my third language. Just deal with it.
It's okay.
But he needs to take one of the spots from Eddie Taxeth or Patrick Yazbek.
Yes.
I don't see 4-3-3 sticking around, because that means one of the DP doesn't play or one of the wingers doesn't play. So that means if Nashville goes back to the 2 in midfield, one of those guys will have to have a bad either injury or a bad form or red card or something for Corcoran to come in. Because currently they do everything else better than him, even if he does the sort of deep playing midfielder role better than them. So unless BJ Callaghan really moves into the 4-3-3, I think there's not a clear spot for him on the team. But look, he's talented. BJ's happy with him, and I think the Nashville organization are very proud to have him in there. So I see him kind of taking that next step this season. And then as far as youth, Chris Applewhite is the other one. I don't see him getting a lot of Nashville minutes this season because the center back grouping is one of the best in MLS, probably. So he'll probably play in Huntsville, Nashville's second team, and see where he goes from there.
Okay. Well, I want to finish it off with I love Eddie Taxeth and Patrick Yazbek. I think if Yazbek specifically can take a step forward, because I thought Taxeth was fantastic last year. Again, Nashville will be fine. They'll figure it out. They'll be atop of Major League Soccer. But Valair, I want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time. Wanted to talk a little bit more MLS, but maybe that's just an excuse to have you come on again later in the season and talk more specifically MLS versus Nashville. But please tell listeners, viewers, where they can find your work, where they can find more of your voice and your face.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me. And yeah, let's talk another time this season. At Valair Shabilla. If you don't know how to spell it, you can probably see it if you're watching this. Also, just look for the bald guy with a beard. It's a very easy thing. And I'm on Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok too. I'm doing some content there. I don't know if that's gonna last, to be honest, but follow me wherever you can follow me. I think there's a cool movement going on with MLS here and all the coverage like you guys are doing. So very happy to be part of it, and appreciate all the support so far.
Well, thank you so much, Valair, and I appreciated talking soccer with you.